My training in Dallas was with a ballerina, Natalie Krasovska, who was a dancer with the Ballet Russe. So it was very Russian, classical, traditional ballet. And going to Balanchine School of American Ballet in New York was very different. It was Balanchine technique, big turnout, your legs were high, it was loose. And the two of them, the two types of techniques were very different, but they went very, very well together. And maybe that had a little bit to do with my future thinking about dance, how many forces could come together to create a total dancer. So, and as I said, I went to Houston and saw the Joffrey perform. And what was wonderful about that performance and sort of ties into this was that they were performing, the opening piece was this ballet called Sir Frederick Ashton's The Dream, the story of A Midsummer Night's Dream. And it's a beautiful fairy tale ballet, you know, Shakespearean with the fairies and gardens, and it's beautifully classically done, wonderful story. And the ballerina was long hair and beautiful pas de deux. And the program went on, and I'm sure there were other ballets. And the last piece on the program was a piece by Gerald Arpino, and it was a rock ballet called Trinity. It was done in the 70s. And as the intermission started, in the pit, there was a rock band, and they were jamming, and they were playing loud music, and the audience came back into the house, and it was like the atmosphere was so different and was so alive and so electric, and like you knew that something was happening. And the curtain opened, and these very sleek dancers coming out and moving their shoulders, and they were wearing unitards of all different kinds of colors, and they were jumping and splitting their legs, and it was just amazing. The same ballerina that had done The Dream, classical, beautiful, blonde hair, was the lead in Trinity, slashing her legs, you know, slick. And I thought, wow, that is what dance is. You can be the most elegant, classical, conservative, disciplined ballerina, but you can do amazingly wild, exuberant things. And I was totally sold on being with the Joffrey. So that's what propelled me and to sort of go into my career with the Joffrey. As I said, I went to Chicago, studied very intently with Mr. Joffrey for 2 weeks. He was known as an excellent teacher, and his classes sometimes were 2.5 hours long. He would do almost the same class the whole week, and it was very disciplined. And in the 2 week period, you could see a huge change from the dancers that started as to how they were at the end with their technique, their ability, their finesse. I went directly from there. I got a scholarship to the Joffrey School. I went directly from there to the school in New York, the Joffrey School, and stayed at the school, again, continuing my studies for about the summer through February. And then in that February, I joined Joffrey 2, which is the apprentice company of the Joffrey, at that time, and was in the company for about 2 years. And while I was on tour, the Joffrey 2 was a bus. We bussed to every city across the US. So while I was on tour, I think I was in California, there was a call that the Joffrey Ballet, the main company, had just been performing in Mexico, and many of the dancers were sick. They had been drinking the water, they had a stomach flu, and they were sick. So they needed someone to come and augment the company. So I was the person that came, and I joined the company in Houston, which is kind of funny, full circle there. I joined the company in Houston, and the week that I was there, I did a different role every night, depending on who was out, in Gerald Arpino's ballet called Suite Sanson. And so that, in a way, was kind of facilitated my learning to adapt quite quickly and overseeing ballets and learning different roles and learning different musicalities and all. And I always tell when I work with students, I say that is one of the best assets, is just learning to learn, that you can have as a career, not only delivering, but just learning to learn. So that embarked my career into the company. And from there on, it was kind of stair steps to move ahead. I love the Joffrey Ballet because, again, we got to dance all different types of repertory. We did reconstructions. One of the highlights of my career was the reconstruction of Václav Nijinsky's Le Sacre du Printemps with music by Stravinsky. It had been a kind of a forgotten ballet, I guess. It just disappeared for many, many years. And it was reconstructed by Millicent Hodson. And she had done research to reconstruct the piece for about 15 years and reconstructed it in the late 80s. And basically it was kind of a discovery. And you know, when Sacre du Printemps was first premiered by Diaghilev's company, it was early 1900s. There was a riot in the audience because Nijinsky was the most classical dancer, elegant, big jump dancer of the time. And he created this ballet that was just everything but that, you know, just braids and makeup and groups and turned in and just everything that was not what you would think Nijinsky would do. So it created a big riot when people saw it. And bringing it back and recreating it in this day and time was just one of the most magical experiences I can ever recall. Performing it was like being in a different world. The music, it is about a ritual. And when you're performing it, you feel like you're part of a ritual. It's like you're there and it's magical and it's I don't know, you just go into a different world for the length of the piece. So that was one of the highlights of my career, but there were so many highlights. Goodness, it's hard to say. Petrushka, some of the new ballets that were choreographed, Dancing Ashton works, working with Mark Morse or Twyla Tharp, who would come into our rehearsals and work with us. I was very fortunate to dance Twyla's role in a ballet called Deuce Coupe. And I had a private rehearsal with her. I was so nervous because it's Twyla sitting there and me as a dancer, a very new dancer in the company. And I was so nervous. But she was great. She was so helpful. And so, she wanted the quirkiness and all as Twyla does, but it was just a magical, wonderful experience.